Great. Well, welcome everybody. I'm going to go ahead and get started. We have two presentations in this session, so we're just going to kind of hit the ground running. We'll start with building bridges or connecting students and faculty to promote wellness and positive learning experience. As long as all the slides cooperate here with us. So I'm really excited to share a bit about this kind of wellness related project that we've been working on in the College of Pharmacy. My name is Christine Klein. I'm an assistant professor of pharmacy practice at the College of Pharmacy here at Ohio State. I'm joined today by one of my colleagues, Margie Winhoven, and she'll be kind of presenting the second half of our presentation today. And our third colleague on this project is actually out on leave, but Brianne Porter is our third colleague on this project. And we're excited to share with you some of the wellness related things that we have done in our program. So before I get into kind of what our quote unquote problem was or what our challenges were, if you wouldn't mind just sharing in the chat the types of courses that you're involved in so we can see the different kind of experiences that we have coming from this group today. We see some online courses, synchronous as well as asynchronous, undergraduate and graduate, some distance learning humanities courses, undergraduate behavioral ecology courses online. Wonderful. Okay, so I'm going to share a little bit about what our courses looked like so you can see how we are either, perhaps a little bit the same or a little bit different than some of the courses that you're working with. So the context we're going to be talking about today is a course called Integrated Pharmacotherapy, or IP, which is in our Doctor of Pharmacy program. So this is what our students' curriculum looks like in their second professional year of a 4-year program. So this one course is a good portion of their year. They have a lot of other things that are going on, but this is the course that we'll talk about today. Just to give you some context of what this course looks like for our students. It is 9.5 credit hours per semester. So it's a very large lift for our students as well as for the faculty that are involved. It is an interdisciplinary team taught course. So we have about 4 to 7 folks, depending on the semester, on the administration team of the course. And we have about 30 unique instructors per semester. So a really large team. And our cohort of students is about 120 to 130 students. So a large course with a large team and a large cohort of students. So lots of things going on. When we think about the team that makes up our course, and I'll talk a little bit about the structure of the course itself here in a second. But when we think about all the folks that make up that course team, I mentioned we have 4 to 7 kind of course administrators. So usually a course director, a workshop coordinator for our active learning, an education coordinator to help with the management of some of, the behind the scenes, the Carmen page, our learning management system. And then we often have trainees that are able to kind of help support this as well as learn about what life looks like in academia. And then for our instructors, we have our foundational sciences as well as our clinicians. So this isn't a Doctor of Pharmacy program. So we have folks from a variety of different disciplines that are teaching students in this course. So just kind of a quick snapshot of the diversity of the types of folks that make up our team, but what this course looks like. So in the chat, we have people sharing that they have asynchronous or synchronous. We had a lot of online or distance learning. So this is a 9.5 credit hour course. So a lot of time with students each week. I would say we spend around 9 to 12 of them synchronously each week. And then the rest of their learning is self-directed. So it is online and asynchronous. So that would be things like recorded lectures and readings, really that kind of flipped classroom model that they're doing a lot of the didactic work on their own as self-directed learning. And then we bring the students together synchronously for active learning. In the context of this academic year, we had a high flex environment. So the majority of students in person working with their team in these synchronous sessions. Obviously, in the context of the previous academic year, this was online synchronous via Zoom. But this year we were primarily in person with some kind of high flex pedagogy. So students were able to Zoom in synchronously, for example, if they were isolating with symptoms from COVID-19 or COVID exposure. So some of the challenges that we had with this cohort that kind of brought us to this topic today of integrating wellness and what this looked like. So this cohort, I mentioned, we work with our second year students. So last academic year, they were entirely online. So many of these students in a graduate program moved to the Columbus area and hadn't met anybody in person. And so, they had worked with classmates via Zoom, maybe if they had an internship where they worked with classmates, but they weren't really able to meet and do that kind of informal networking and socializing in the context of last academic year. And their experience thus far had been exclusively online learning. They also had, limited interactions with each other, with the community, with faculty. Our students spend a lot of time volunteering in free clinics, getting involved in student organizations, and that was challenging last academic year with the in-person limitations. In that graphic that I showed where they had kind of multiple courses, I didn't go into detail, but you could see they had a variety of other courses going on for the second years outside of the context of our IP course. So in their first year, they also had a variety of instructors, and with instructors trying to provide, flexibility and all sorts of things to promote a student-friendly learning experience last academic year. They had different experiences from different instructors and different courses. So when they came to us, there were kind of inconsistent expectations of what the norm was of the structure and expectations of them as professional students in the program. And then for the majority of this academic year, the students as well as the faculty were all masked when in person. So just some additional challenges that we had with students being able to connect with each other and with us as faculty in this course, and some of the challenges that they brought to the table from their experiences last year. So we really wanted to focus on how can we work with these students to help them not only connect with us in this learning environment, but also connect with each other and build those relationships. So in order to do that, we worked to integrate wellness solutions in the classroom to help students, really understand and build these wellness skills and to enhance their understanding of what does professional well-being look like. So again, these are graduate students that are going to be moving on to be practicing pharmacists, practicing clinicians. So making sure that they not only have those strategies to be successful in the classroom, but moving forward to be successful in practice. So as we dig into some of these wellness strategies, if you have ever integrated wellness into your classroom space, either online or in person, you can go ahead and pop into the chat some of the types of activities that you have done, again, in any environment, in person, online, hybrid, high flex, whatever environment you were in, if you want to pop those in the chat. Looks like we see some reflection, some contemplative exercises, or some mindfulness. Wonderful. And you might be thinking to yourself, I don't know, have I had wellness in my classroom? And I would argue that you maybe have some wellness in your classroom that you didn't identify as wellness. So we'll kind of talk through some of the things that we've done. So OSU, we have here the variety of the dimensions of wellness. So lots of things to think about. I think a lot of times we focus on the more maybe traditional aspects of wellness, and there's so much more to wellness. So really thinking about wellness holistically and how we can help promote that for our students. So when we think about our program, before we dig into what we did specifically in our course, our program requires students to do what are called co-curricular activities, one of which has to be related to wellness. A lot of our student organizations have like a wellness or well-being chair that helps organize activities for student wellness. We do have a student wellness committee that again tries to help coordinate events, and historically a lot of previously in-person event-based activities or food-based activities. So again, working through the challenges of our kind of navigating the online and hybrid environments that we are now in. We do have an embedded counselor at the College of Pharmacy, which is really wonderful for our students. And then recently, we have a prayer and meditation room that opened in our building. We're going to focus today on this kind of embedded in the classroom space. So what did we do? So again, I said you might be doing some wellness things in your classroom that you didn't think of as wellness. So we're going to share a little bit about some of the updated course logistics that we did related to wellness, as well as some things that we have deemed Take Fives or well-being workshops. So our class was high flex. So I mentioned it was kind of that flipped classroom. They were only coming in person for active or group work. So they were not coming in to sit through lectures. They were only coming in when they were engaging with instructors as well as classmates. So that was one strategy that was not only an effective learning pedagogy, but was also really great for student wellness to give them that increased flexibility. We worked really hard to observe the academic breaks. And so what I mean by that is having a large exam right before fall break so that they could truly disconnect over fall break instead of worrying about studying for an exam, the week or so after they returned back to us. So being really intentional with our assessment scheduling where we could so that they could truly disconnect and observe those breaks. What we've called sick day planning. So I kind of alluded to earlier that kind of zoom in option. So if students were sick or had been exposed to COVID or were isolating, whatever the scenario was, if they were well enough that they could still engage in class, even if they couldn't come in person, we had some technology support to be able to zoom them into the classroom where the instructor and the majority of their classmates were in person. And then they were still able to work with their group on those activities. So whether that be in a Zoom breakout room or whether that be via, like a Google Docs, or each group had different strategies that worked best for their cohort. But kind of planning that up front so that if students were unwell, they felt that they could still be engaged and connect with their classmates, but safely from home. More flexible deadlines. So historically, in a very fast-paced, high credit hour course, things kind of happened as they happened in the course, and there was no make it up later. It just kind of, carried on because a day in that course is like a week in maybe a more traditional course setting. So allowing with these recorded lectures, some more flexible deadlines that if, a recording from a session was posted, they had until the next day to complete things where historically they would have had to turn something in at the very end of the session. So again, just kind of promoting that student flexibility so that they can take care of the things they need to take care of for themselves kind of as a human being. Being really clear with our expectations. So very clearly communicating deadlines, very clearly communicating what qualified as these sick day planning absences versus when they really needed to take the day off and take advantage of an excused absence. So just being really clear in those expectations and how they needed to communicate that with us, and being really transparent in how we communicated this with our instructors so that they weren't, I mentioned we have 30 unique instructors per semester, so that when an instructor came in, they knew that there were students that would be Zooming in that day so that they could ensure to pause and say, do we have any questions from our students on Zoom, to make sure that the instructors were aware of what was going on and that the students were still included. So that was some of what we did around the course logistics. We also had what we called Take Fives and Wellbeing workshops. So really briefly, the Take Fives were 5-minute or less, really short activities that happened within our scheduled active learning time. So when we had them there in person, these happened a lot of times during course breaks where you would normally say, we're going to take a 5-minute break, go to the bathroom. We would have these kind of activities available. And then the Wellbeing workshops were longer activities, that usually were about an hour in length. So some of our Take Fives, again, they're broken down here by dimension of wellness. These are just a few examples. Some folks shared some really great things of things you're already doing in the classroom. So kind of starting with uplift and having people share what's going well, the mindfulness. We had really great student feedback on having like puzzles or deep breathing activities right before exam sessions. So just thinking through these really brief activities that don't take a lot of preparation from an instructor standpoint. Let's see who can get the most steps over the 5-minute break, things like that. So this list can be kind of a helpful place to draw from, but just really quick activities that they could do during those breaks. We did these in the previously in-person iteration of the course, in the online iteration, and then now in our kind of high flex environment. So obviously what it looks like might change a little bit, but definitely opportunities to incorporate those in a variety of settings. I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Margie, to talk about some of the new things that we did this year, specifically focused on those connection challenges that we were concerned about with this cohort.
Hi, thanks, Christine. So I am, like Christy mentioned, the workshop coordinator. So a lot of these activities took place in the workshop since we were there for active learning, and it's a good opportunity for us to engage the students. So for the 21-22 cohort that we're talking about, like mentioned, we wanted to focus on relationship building and connection and team building. And so these are some of the activities that we did this year. And the top one, the scavenger hunt, was one of those longer, I would say, well-being workshops that Christy mentioned. It did take a couple of hours. We had to sort of change how we did our course intro by moving some more of that online to free up room for this activity. But we felt that was really important since, like she said, many of these students hadn't even ever seen each other face to face. And so the scavenger hunt just involved them working with a team, and it was a team that they will remain in for the entire year. It's their learning team. So it was a good opportunity to start some of that early team building. And we just sent them to places around campus or the college that we thought would help them survive and thrive. So, silly things like finding the bathroom or the student lounge. We wanted them to know where our offices were, where academic affairs was. And then we sent them out into the wild of the whole university to look for fun Buckeye landmarks. It was a really nice day. These other activities, the Marshmallow Tower Building, the Minute to Win It, and the Learning Styles Inventory, these are more of those quick take 5 activities that we did. So we had them in their teams and they were given a finite number of marshmallows and toothpicks and time, and they had to build the tallest tower. The Minute to Win It was actually something a student had suggested to us. And basically for ours, we just did an Oreo Minute to Win It, where they had to put an Oreo on their forehead and get it to their mouth without dropping it or touching it. And then we had obviously declared some winners from that. If they didn't participate, then they just got to start their morning off with an Oreo, which is never a bad thing for well-being. And then we did a Learning Styles Inventory. So sometimes these activities would just be to create an awareness for something. So we had them self-identify through a survey their learning style, and then we did sort of a, go to the 4 corners of the room situation, and there was a different learning style in each of those corners. So they met with that group of similar students, and then we talked out loud as a whole class about the different learning styles, and they returned to their teams to discover, which types of learning styles were on their team and what that meant to the team. So we sometimes try to use these activities to, I guess, model or build skills and behaviors that we want them to have as professionals, but that may not come directly through coursework. These are just some pictures quickly that we have. So this is their scavenger hunt. You can see they found Buckeyes either in Buckeye Grove or at the gift shop, it looks like, at the hospital. They were at the library, Mirror Lake. So that was them finally meeting in person. Here we have some marshmallow building on the right. We have our Oreo winners on the left. And then another thing we did even more intentionally this year was the faculty connection piece. So we are a team of 3. So Brianne on the left and the bottom there with the baby, and then Christine, who just spoke, in the middle. And 2 of the 3 of us were pregnant this year. So we kind of took the students along that journey. We share pictures of the baby shower. We brought in leftover favors. We even Zoomed Brianne and her baby Sully in as one of our take 5s, just so that the students could stay connected with Brianne and share in that excitement after she left on maternity leave. So just sort of trying to share our lives as people, not just as professors. This is a table of more of the well-being workshops. So we only did the scavenger hunt, but in previous years, we have done things like utilizing the Smart Lab for stress management, utilizing a university representative to talk about students about how to meal plan on a budget, or just having things like game nights, just social activities to get them together. They really like trivia. So those are some of the longer activities that we have done in past years. So what have we learned? So we've learned a lot from doing these wellness activities over the last 3 years. We've learned how students felt about us, how they felt about the activities. We've learned their preferences for different dimensions of well-being. And then this year, especially, we've just been able to witness their growth as a team and sort of in their love for their learning team. We talked to them about becoming a highly functioning team, takes time and trust and all of these different components. And they are so grateful for their teams. We've learned at the end of this year that they want to continue with them into the next academic year, which It's not something that we've ever done, but now that we're exploring that to see if that might be valuable. So next I'm going to share just some kind of quick wins that we've discovered through doing this. So student feedback, this is solicited feedback. We do a supplemental survey ahead of our SEIs just to get some additional information on topics that we're interested in. And you can see here some of the comments about well-being that popped up through that. So they often comment that these breaks are an opportunity to stop or to center or to reflect. You know, it gives them a brain break, they say, in class or even during an exam to switch off to do a Sudoku puzzle that's on their scrap paper if they're stuck on a question. We've done quiet or meditation, quiet time ahead of exams, which they've mentioned liking, and then just reflection times, like for instance, on the learning styles, or we've had them reflect on their role in their team, their performance as a team member. We've had occasional naysayers, like you always will, but we found that if we stop doing these things, we heard about it from the students. So once they're incorporated, if you take them away or forget to do them or just don't have time and omit one, they definitely miss them. And the other thing I wanted to say is we don't force participation. I think like Christine mentioned, this is a normal break. So if they have something, you know, they're adults, if they have something more urgent that they need to take care of, like going to the bathroom or making an important phone call, we don't force them to participate. So whoever participates depends on the day or the activity or the mood of the student. These are some of quickly the dimensions that always rise to the top for what they like to do. So these 4 seem to be big for the students year over year. And so we do focus on emotional. We talk about stress and mindfulness. We do activities. We are very vocal about depression, anxiety. For physical, we do step challenges. They love that. Stretching. It can be anything like setting up an ergonomic workplace or work spot. We did that when we were remote. And then yoga. Intellectual, we do things like time management, study strategies, anything that can help them to digest the large volume of content that comes at them, they find helpful. And then social, like I said, just music and trivia and any kind of fun activity they're usually game for. As far as lessons learned, I would say planning is a required. It's helpful to have a bank of activities going into the semester, or at least be able to plan a couple of weeks ahead of time. It's helpful to have a variety of activities, both short and long. And like I said, we don't require engagement, but that allows people to engage as they desire. And then I think another important thing that we've learned is including learners in the planning. So if you have the opportunity, we have residents and students on academic rotations and even GTAs. They can help with the workload of creating some of these activities or getting the supplies together. And I think just as important, or if not more important, they bring new, creative, fresh ideas for us to share with the students. And they're usually more in touch with shows that they're watching or music that they're into or things that we can involve in trivia or these challenges. So we like to involve them whenever possible. And then we've seen SEI impacts anecdotally. So generally we're seeing good things from this unsolicited feedback we receive in SEIs. Usually themes are that they feel cared about as a person, not just a student or not just a number at Ohio State, and they feel a closer connection to professors and classmates. So here I'm going to share quickly the quick wins. So if you only have a little bit of time, some things that we found that you can do easily and quickly are just playing music, whether that's on Zoom or in the real classroom. As a break. It's also a nice cue for students to come back to class when the music stops abruptly. Chatting about non-academic things. So we often are doing, which I think I saw in the chat when Christine asked, asking them what shows they're watching or what are they most looking forward to for spring break, so we can hear a little bit about their lives. That intentional scheduling of online materials. So really thinking in the beginning of the semester, what needs to be in person, what could be online to allow more time for active learning and wellness in the classroom, and then also to allow student wellness outside the classroom as they're able to digest those didactic materials on their own around work or working out, etc. And then communicating flexible options. So definitely thinking about how you can engage them even if they can't be physically present in the classroom. And using existing OSU resources is huge. So many of the things that we do are from OSU, or they are repurposed from something we found on OSU, or just reminding students of resources that exist at OSU at the right time when they need them. So maybe ahead of exams or something like that. And then having COVID-19 friendly activities. So in our bank, we have sort of activities that we can do online, which that might be like, a trivia thing that we can do a PowerPoint presentation for. Then having things we can do in classroom masked. And then we had, a list of activities we really wanted to do, but couldn't do because we had to be masked, like, for example, the Oreo challenge. So having all different types so that you can pivot as needed. So these are many small things that you don't necessarily think of as well-being, but they enhance the morale of the classroom. So last chat here, just wanted to see if there's any quick win takeaway that we may have shared with you during this presentation that you think would be possible to implement in your classroom, or that you might like to implement. And I know we're running out of time, so while you are typing in the chat, I'm going to go ahead with our acknowledgments. So we just wanted to acknowledge our IP team and our program and college leadership. They have been so supportive, as well as our counselor and all of the OSU resources we've been able to take advantage of. And we have some references here and questions. And I'm looking at the chat, so I see music. I want to do this and always forget. Oh, who gets to choose the music? So that's a good question. We kind of, when I was on Zoom, I just chose the music and just rotated it through various types, but it's more fun if you can involve the students. We've done that for the music. And also recently I don't know if Christine mentioned this, but a TikTok video, we did an ID module for infectious disease. And when the students brought a fun TikTok, that was just sort of a little comedy sketch, and we just put that up for one of the Take Fives. Oh, I see, having the students do a playlist. Yes, our students do have a playlist, so that's another great idea. All right, thank you.
And thank you to our colleagues from the College of Pharmacy. My brain is just exploding thinking about all the things that we can do to incorporate wellness in our classrooms and in our clinical practice. Hello, everyone. I'm Alice Teal. I'm an assistant professor of clinical nursing at Ohio State College of Nursing. And I'm here with my colleagues, Awais Ali, and Director of IT and Business Systems, and Kelly Adams, who is a student who has graduated from our psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner program and is about to be, in just a few short days, a graduate of our doctorate of nursing practice program. So I'm very excited for her and really grateful to be here at Innovate Connect, presenting an innovative wellness partner program, outcomes of clinical education focused on well-being. There we go. Our objectives are on this slide. We're gonna just briefly review the need for the strategies that we are talking about today from both the College of Pharmacy and the College of Nursing that really help students focus on wellness and build resilience. We are also going to review telehealth technologies that support these virtual connections. We're going to talk about some effective key elements for teaching strategies that create wellness partnerships, especially in response to the pandemic. And you've already heard today, and you're likely to recognize that wellness and connection are priority needs for our students. As it is for all of us. Prior to the pandemic, 1 in 5 adults experience a mental health disorder, and less than half receive treatment. This crisis actually extends to our college students. 30% of college students report some type of mental health disorder, and that was pre-pandemic. Since the pandemic, studies show that about 75% of students who come to campus with an identified mental health disorder will have some type of crisis while on campus. And actually specific to Ohio State across all programs, in April of 2021, there was a survey done that found that 71% of students report some type of burnout symptoms. In a study, there we go, in a national study published in 2021 of more than 100,000 college students, the rate of depression for the year was above 40%. The rate of anxiety was above 30%, non-suicidal self-injury above 20%, and suicidal ideation above 10%. Our health science students are particularly vulnerable, and they experience the stress of clinical practice in addition to the stressors of academia. The impact of the pandemic for our College of Nursing students has been significant. They've had changes in their work hours, financial stress, challenges related to completing clinical hours. All those things lead to lack of sleep, physical inactivity, health and wellness risks. And I probably don't need to say this, but I do want to acknowledge, the pandemic has had an unprecedented impact on the mental health and well-being of clinicians who already had higher rates of anxiety, depression, and burnout. All of these things do negatively affect the quality, safety, and cost of healthcare. So it's within this context that we are challenged to prepare our students for practice. So the need is imperative. Wherever you are working with students, it's imperative that we have student-centered academic strategies to prepare our students for practice. And we want them to have the skills to manage stress and build resilience. We try to do this within the context of classroom and clinical practice to create this community of wellness and a culture of well-being. Pre-pandemic, at the College of Nursing, we began to intentionally create what we call Live Well classrooms. You've heard a lot of strategies from the College of Pharmacy about this, and we do this whether we're online or on campus. I do have a link to a faculty wellness toolkit that was originally created by my colleague Kate Golick. It has ideas in it to support Live Well approach within courses and programs, to do things like add mindful moments, have students stand and move more, collaborate as a team. In addition, because of the nature of nursing, it's also important that as faculty and with their preceptors that we prioritize wellness, model, and mentor that in clinical practice. So our goals in doing this in courses and in clinical practice is really to prepare the student for a transformed healthcare system without discouraging them. So we were doing these things pre-pandemic, and then with the onset of the pandemic, our efforts turned to doing these things incorporating the use of telehealth technologies. As we saw care move to incorporating telehealth, we moved our wellness initiatives into the telehealth space. We created what we call a telehealth wellness hub. We primarily have 3 large initiatives. We created an emotional support line, or a warm line, for nurses who were working in COVID hotspots and who would like additional wellness support. We also have students and faculty who do wellness assessments and wellness coaching of alumni, staff, faculty, and students across Ohio State campuses. Actually, over the last year, our students have engaged in more than 2,000 clinical hours, specifically in delivering wellness initiatives. One initiative of our telehealth wellness hub was the Wellness Partner Program, which pairs nurse practitioner students with nurses across the country. The student coach and the nurse participant meet using telehealth for about 6 to 8 weeks. During the summer of 2020, we had 49 nurse practitioner students who actually implemented wellness partnerships for 188 nurses. You're going to hear from one of them briefly. But what we want to talk about first is so you've heard about kind of what we did generally and why, but we want to look at a little more considerations in depth related to how do you actually have students work with each other to create wellness partnerships. So the first thing certainly is that students need to be prepared. Our undergraduate and graduate students learn to coach wellness or to create partnerships, and they do that first with each other. So we have them actually have peer wellness partners. And sometimes they do this within the same course where they'll meet with another student 4 to 6 times during the course. Sometimes our graduate students will meet with undergrad students. Sometimes our students ready to graduate will meet with students earlier in their clinical courses. We've done this in a number of different ways, but we've always found that when they have peer partners first and they practice the skills of coaching wellness, that we've received really good feedback from that. In preparing our students to create these wellness partnerships, again, we had to have them learn telehealth technologies, not only to be able to support each other, but to be ready for a transformed healthcare system. So I'm going to turn this to my colleague to provide additional context about our College of Nursing and our challenges.
Thank you, Dr. Teal. Good morning, everyone. My name is Awais. As Dr. Teal mentioned, I will be going over the review of telehealth technologies that support virtual connections. First, I would like to give you a brief overview of our college. Our college's vision is to be the world's leader in thinking and achieving the impossible to transform health and lives. We offer several nursing programs at the college. Among them are Registered Nurse to BS and Bachelor's of Science in Nursing are some of the biggest undergraduate programs. We also offer several non-nursing degrees, including the Bachelor's in Health and Wellness. We have experienced a steady growth in our academic programs in the past several years. Our largest graduate programs have also experienced steady growth in recent times. Some of our graduate programs are ranked in the top 10 nationally, with one also being number one currently in the US, according to US World News rankings. Our doctorate program, specifically the Doctorate of Nursing Practice program, is fully online. And we also offer non-nursing degrees in the graduate category, including the Masters in Healthcare Innovation and Masters of Clinical Research. Experiential hands-on learning in health sciences disciplines is crucial to robust programs to prepare the healthcare providers. Securing clinical placements for nursing students is challenging during normal times. As you can see from the following chart, we are challenged to secure thousands of clinical placements for our pre-licensure students in any given year. The challenge to find graduate placements is even more acute. Some of our graduate students have to travel to great distances to gain clinical experiences. We have had students placed as far as Alaska to gain midwifery experiences to fulfill our accreditation commitments and regulatory requirements set by the Ohio Board of Nursing. The college has also been undergoing tremendous growth in the past decade, with the total number of faculty and staff doubling and student enrollment more than doubling. To accommodate the growth, our new building called Heminger Hall is in the final stages of completion, slated to open this summer. The new building will essentially double the square footage for the College of Nursing. Future plans also include exploring operating our own clinics. We do operate a federally qualified healthcare clinic out of the OSU East Hospital currently. Our dean is also the chief wellness officer for the university and vice president for health promotion for the Ohio State University. The Buckeye Wellness programs across campus are planned and supported by our college. As I provided you some background for the College of Nursing and different challenges we face, we're tasked with leveraging technical solutions that offer great scalability and adaptability to meet the diverse needs of our organization. The use of telehealth tools to give students experience with technology to provide care started in 2017. We also started providing telehealth services to regional OSU campuses prior to the pandemic. In the next slide, we will watch a brief video, quote unquote, on how we used to do it.
The Ohio State University College of Nursing exists to dream, discover, and deliver a healthier world. This vision prompted recognition of the need to prepare our students to use telehealth in the delivery of healthcare. Virtual delivery of healthcare is correlated with improved access to care, better health outcomes, and cost savings.
Using telehealth exam stations, real-time online simulations, and store and forward recordings, nursing students acquire the skills to deliver care by telehealth. Ohio State's undergraduate nursing students learn to use digital peripherals, including Bluetooth stethoscopes, otoscopes, ophthalmoscopes, and webcams to essentially become the nurse practitioner's hands, while graduate students learn how to direct the physical exam, diagnose and treat patients from a distance using these state-of-the-art technologies.
The Ohio State Total Health and Wellness is one of only 4 federally qualified health center lookalikes associated with the College of Nursing in the country. We provide integrated, comprehensive care for a primarily underserved patient population on the Near East Side of Columbus, Ohio. We first extended our team-based interprofessional care beyond the doors of our health center using telehealth to the Ohio State University Lima campus. Interdisciplinary health sciences students who are mentored at Total Health and Wellness in Columbus, Ohio, now have the opportunity to learn and use telehealth to increase access to care.
Our work with telehealth does not stop here. Our immediate goal is to create a telehealth toolkit that will identify educational strategies required for student immersive experiential learning and the tools needed to assess and evaluate provider competence. Over the coming years, we intend to support growing levels of engagement with telehealth. Through this work, the Ohio State University College of Nursing looks forward to continuing to transform health and transform lives.
To meet our academic and clinical needs posed by the pandemic, where it wasn't always possible to have the patient and provider be physically present at the provider stations, which were housed at the College of Nursing or in clinics, we were tasked to find new solutions to continue our services. In the early stages of the pandemic, our students were also barred from going to clinical sites to be precepted due to unknowns at the time. This had the potential to disrupt our core business and also delay graduation of nursing students at the time when new nurses were most needed. Our FQHC clinic on the east side serving underserved population also had patients with limited technical knowledge and equipment. For this reason, we landed on choosing Doximity, which is a platform agnostic telehealth solution to meet our needs. This solution distinguished itself from other offerings at the time as it required no special installation of any applications for the patients and was easy as making a phone call for the providers. As you can see from the usage analytics in this slide, we have integrated Doximity into our workflows with over 300 active Doximity users and over 32,000 telehealth calls made by OSU users of Doximity in the past year to date. This has enabled our students and clinical faculty to gain flexibility on how they provide quality care and instruction by being more nimble and accessible for their patients. Hands-on clinical instructional skills remained a challenge during this time. For this reason, we are now converting our computer lab, which got very little usage in the past couple of years, as you may expect, to be a virtual reality / augmented reality lab. We hope to leverage telehealth solutions, which have emerged in the past couple of years with new innovative virtual reality approaches to teach future generations. The following video is a brief introduction on how this technology can be used to teach health sciences students basic concepts, and we hope to develop core nursing skills modules using VR, which the students can access from virtual reality headset on and off campus. We are also developing meditation and other wellness-related modules using virtual reality.
To our classroom, and as you see, traditionally I'd be standing in front of a class filled with students and have my laptop and be showing my PowerPoints, and students would be bored silly and not engaged. But we want to introduce you to the next best thing, and we've got our students in the room, and welcome to the metaverse. This is what is now possible. And as you look around, you see the beautiful sky, but you also see what we're going to study today. And this is just a little look at sepsis. So as you look at the board,
During all of this time, the IT team had to be cognizant of the live well principles and find solutions that enhance wellness and not inhibit it. By leveraging existing tools in use at OSU and filling gaps with new tools, we are able to take the character building challenge of a global pandemic and continue living up to the wellness principles our college is known for while improving the ways we do things. We're also taking lessons learned from our experiences and encouraging our researchers to leverage these tools to stay engaged with their research study participants. I would like to now turn it over to Dr. Adams, who will be going over identifying key elements of teaching strategies to create wellness partnerships. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. While I transition to my slides, I'd like everybody to shake your hands, stretch your legs, take a deep breath in, and we'll get started here. So as I am Kelly Adams, I was participated as a wellness partner, and I'd like to share my experience as a student in that program. It occurred while I was a mental health nurse practitioner student. And so I was the partner assigned to other students to help them with their wellness needs. So these were clinicians working during the pandemic. So they may not have had assignments in a clinical setting, but on their own time, they were working as clinicians in the outpatient settings, inpatient settings, and balancing their academics at the same time. So for the wellness partners, we focused on 3 areas. One was to help them personalize this support that they were receiving. And as you know, we all have different needs at different times. So we would help them prioritize. Would you like to focus on physical activity, healthy eating, sleep, or stress management, or any of those dimensions of wellness, with the goal of focusing on their strengths? And as you know, when you start something new and you set a goal and you're working on a strength that you have, that increases the chances that you're going to be successful and that you can build on that in the future and then take that out into different environments. And again, improving that resiliency and the ability to bounce back during these extremely stressful times. So 2 strategies I want to share that we used many, but 2 that I want to share is, how did you balance this high touch, high tech environment? So clinicians are going from an environment where extreme barriers are now occurring between us and the patient, and also distance. So it's taking away that personal touch. Then once the clinicians or students go out of that and back into their environment, we're isolating ourselves just because of obviously various reasons. So how do we do that? How do we help those clinicians transition from those 2 extreme environments? And so we focused on 2 strategies, and I want to share those with you. The first one is focusing on the high touch. How do you maintain a good partnership with somebody to where they trust you? Because during this time of high stress, our natural tendencies are to protect ourselves. So the Institute of Healthcare Improvement has an initiative called What Matters to You? And it's basically asking one question: what matters to you right now in the moment? That helps build a partnership where you're focusing on them as a person, an individual. Once you ask that question, you then is critical to listen. And this is where our listening skills, our active listening skills, come into play. And then focus on the do, focus on the strengths. What area do they want to focus on? And then how can we help them make that happen realistically so they'll be successful and can take that on? The second strategy used was the technology. So as we have all learned, and we have been in these similar situations, learning how to manage this technical environment at the same time of maintaining a connection. So we have all heard about etiquette, to where we have, and I've got an example here, is we're setting up our environment. So good lighting, so we can see her face. We can, in a moment, we'll listen to her. Her environment is not distracting. So there's no fans or lights flashing in the background. So she is set up for perfection. So as a student, we always want to, have that environment that's supportive. However, bloopers happen. And so what this experience provided was the opportunity to make bloopers normal, just to normalize it. It's part of this technology and something that we're going to have to just deal with as it happens. And so I wanted to share this video clip of, this is someone providing a guided meditation online. And then she's faced with a blooper and showing you how she dealt with that, which is an example of that blooper management.
Meditation is great for bringing about a sense of relaxation, well-being, and calm. So starting just quickly by breathing in and breathing out. And it's really challenging, I know, with children home from school and working from home, but just trying to just keep all of those distractions out of the meditation is great for bringing about.
Bloopers, I love that blooper. If you listen to that video, and you can Google it and close your eyes, there's no break in her voice. She still continues on and she acknowledges what's going on in the background, just in case you are watching with your eyes open. So she makes that normal, making that personal connection to where we understand we're giving each other grace in these difficult times. I highly encourage you, if you're feeling stressed and you have a few minutes, to Google some bloopers. Laughter is really good medicine. So my experience, so as I transitioned from the student and as the partner into my practice, so I graduated from the Postmaster Certificate Program. And so what I take with me and what I learned is this amazing skill set of this advanced being able to communicate virtually and also manage the technology at the same time. So I've developed high touch and high tech skills. And so I now work for an international virtual mental health care company, and I have been involved with that company for a while now, and are so grateful to have this experience as a student in an environment that was just amazing. So to summarize, the College of Nursing recognized the need for wellness interventions and so worked with the IT department to operationalize this. How do we make it happen? And used wellness partners like myself to deliver those initiatives and evidence-based practice strategies. And the outcomes is that we had over 97% engagement of those who participated in initiating those wellness activities. And for me personally and the students, we had the opportunity for an amazing state-of-the-art clinical experience, which I am, again, so grateful for. I believe we have time for questions now or any discussion. Thank you so much.
And I know maybe you all didn't have your mics on, but if you have questions for either College of Nursing or College of Pharmacy, feel free. You can put it in the chat. And I see that there's a note that the recording will be available in about a week. Okay. So thank you, everyone. I know that we have very short amount of time between now and your next session. So feel free to, you can email me. Let me put my email in the chat, and really appreciate your attention today. Thank you, everyone.